my fellow comic book collectors, it's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Friday Challenge video where I'm going to ask you to look for top spec. What I mean by that is look for comics that you think are going to potentially be ones that go up in value over time. And when I say go up in value, I mean go up a lot in value. So these are books that you think that you should speculate on or people should speculate on. I think if we all share our different spec ideas, it'd be kind of a cool challenge, because just think of all the possibilities. Like, I think about 6 or 7 channels actually participate in this on a weekly basis. So that'd be 70 potential spec ideas that people are going to be putting out there to the community. So I think that, it's pretty fun. So the more people that participate, the more ideas that we get, and more potential that these spec will actually get realized. Maybe everyone will be buying each other's spec ideas. So I'm going to start out with my first spec, and it's just one thing, but it's 3 things. I'll show you what I mean by that. So it's this one set of books. So it's Who's Who by DC. And the reason I'm showing you this as my first spec choice is inside these Who's Who is artwork by various artists. And it's basically like, these are like character profiles of different characters, similar to what I did with my Vixens of the Golden Age book. Well, each features different artists, and if you look at this page, you see Phantom Lady. This is the DC modern version of Phantom Lady, but it was done by the artist David Stevens or Dave Stevens. So just a really great artist that is super hot right now, and these books are still fairly under the radar. Some people know about them, and they have been going up in value, but it's one of those ones where you can still pick them up relatively cheaply in the dollar bins. You can find them. So that one was was number 18, and the next one is number 7. So try to remember the covers. Number 7. So 18-7. And this one has a really great dolphin artwork by Dave Stevens. So you get that one. Nice dolphin. And then the third one, so that's number 7. And the third one is number 4. And this one has a Catwoman by David Stevens. So if you pick up those 3, you get all the Dave Stevens artwork, which is kind of fun. So that's my first spec. 1 book, 3 books, but really 1 in total. Okay, so the next one is number 9 on my list. Is, I think, TV shows that were really, really popular when people were younger. People get nostalgic for them, and they want to pick up their first appearances. I just think, even if they're not comic book collectors. So this is like a spec where it doesn't even have to be comic, like a collector doing it. It just has to be somebody that's interested in the show. And one of the most popular shows on TV was Family Guy. And it was a long-running show. I'm not even sure if it's still running. I think it is still running. And this is actually the first appearance of Family Guy in comics. This is, ignore the thing. It's not, I just recycled the bag. I think it's just Family Guy number 1. And it's if you look up 100 Ways to Kill Lois, I think that's the title that you can look up. And this is the very first appearance of Family Guy and all the characters within Family Guy. The front cover has Lois and Stewie, and the back cover has the other characters. So definitely one that you should, if you're a Family Guy fan, you might want to pick it up anyways. It's not an expensive book, goes for $5 to $10. Very inexpensive spec, but potential is pretty good, because people do like to pick up nostalgic books, and this is one of those ones where it's really under the radar because people don't realize where Family Guy made his first appearance. So Family Guy. Okay, that's number 9. Same idea. for the number 8 on the list is famous popular movies, and especially horror movies. Horror movies, especially around like now that we've passed this year's Halloween. This is a good time to pick up this book because it's the market isn't thinking horror anymore; it's thinking more Christmas. So this is one of those specs that it's kind of cooled off a little bit, and now it's a good time to pick it up. And it's one that will kind of pick up during the Halloween season. It's one of those seasonal speculations. So this one it's a good time to buy, and it's the very first appearance of Chucky. So it's one of those ones that actually confuses most people, and people don't realize that it's actually the first appearance because it's Child's Play 2. So it's like, well, what happened to Child's Play 1? Well, they never made a comic for Child's Play 1. They made a Child's Play 2 comic. So it's Child's Play 2, number 1. And so it's the second movie and first book from the movie adaptation for it. So this is the one to look for. And it's the very first appearance of Chucky. A series that actually they've recently made a TV series for it as well. So it's one that is building a fan base even today. So very popular 80s and 90s horror character, but also popular nowadays too. So very good spec long term. Goes for about $30. So take a look for it. You can get it as cheap as 20. I've seen it that low, but usually 30 plus. So good luck hunting on that one. Next one is another spec related to TV. I find that that's where I get a lot of my inspiration for speculation is TV shows, movies, and so forth. Another TV show that is more of my childhood and really kind of one that is for some reason under the radar. People think of a different book when they think of these characters' first appearances, but this is actually their very first appearance. It is Pure Images number 5, and this is actually the first appearance of Ren and Stimpy. Very popular characters in the 90s when I was in my teens, and people that are my age, which are majority of comic book collectors it seems, will be kind of nostalgic for these characters. So I always believed in the power of nostalgia, and this is one of those ones that I think has that kind of nostalgic element to it. So it's always cool to get the first appearance. Now this book will be a little bit more expensive on the list, but it goes for about $50. So definitely one that if you remember the Ren and Stimpy show, which is very of the time, there was a lot of these kind of gross out ones like Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy and Powerpuff Girls. I don't know. There were a whole bunch of that era. And this is definitely one that was very popular. So Ren and Stimpy. So look for Pure Images number 5. Okay. This is one that's more of a future spec, but also one that will be a spec that will be realized maybe even sooner than some of these other ones. So it's a future spec plus that. So you'll see what I mean by this. It's this is like a video game that was very popular, and they decided to make a live action series for it. Live action series actually turned out to be pretty good, which is odd. Which is really odd. So this book spiked during when the show was out, but has since cooled off. That's the best time to buy it. So right now we're in between season 1 and season 2. They're going to come out with the season 2. So this book has the potential to become hot again. If so you always buy in between the seasons, because then you kind of can get the best price. So right now this book is a little bit cooled off, but I think it will heat up once there's word of the second season, when it's going to start and so forth. So definitely The Last of Us. This is The Last of Us number 1. This is from 2013 from Dark Horse. So look for Last of Us American Dreams number 1. This is kind of the first appearances of the characters, but I'm going to show you another book, which is my next number on the list, that is actually another one that's under the radar that people kind of sleep on and probably shouldn't. So this is the big one that most people go for. But the next book is even better. And this came out around the same time, a little bit earlier. So this is The Last of Us and the Ashcan version. Now, what happened was when The Last of Us video game came out, which was around when the comic came out, it came with a little mini comic. And this is the mini comic that came with the game. And these are quite rare and hard to find. And look, it's hard to actually get them in high grade because usually when they stick them in with the game, they get all bent and stuff. So they're generally kind of beat up. So finding these in high grade, kind of hard. But these came out before the comic did. Included with the PAL Region edition of The Last of Us Survival Edition video game from Naughty Dog. Okay, so this is the Ashcan. So another one that's a little bit under the radar. Most people don't realize that they should get this if they if they want to get the collection of The Last of Us. This is kind of like the true first appearances. So another Last of Us spec, and I actually really enjoyed this the series. I'm hoping that the second season will be as good. I think they might have more funding because of the fact that it did do well. Often that can bode well for a season going forward. Okay, now I was talking about a lot of things where it's nostalgia based. This is another book that really heated up during COVID, and it kind of spiked. It was like really expensive, and then anything that sort of went high during COVID has since fallen and corrected. This book is one that I'm very nostalgic to because it's part of when I was really active in collecting comics when I was a kid. And I think it's one that a lot of collectors, even modern collectors, would appreciate. And it's Wizard Magazine #1. Now this book has since fallen, and it's much more reasonable to buy. Probably you can get a higher grade than what I got. I got an 8.5. For cheaper than what I what I paid for this, but I bought this at Nostalgia, and there's a bunch of good things going for this book. This book was the first monthly price guide that people relate to in the 90s. It is the one that kind of was the Comic Tom of its generation. It was the book that people would collect. They'd pick it up on a monthly basis. They'd go to the Hot 10 list. They'd see, oh, this book is spiking, and they'd go rush to the stores to try to pick up whatever books the Wizard magazine recommended. This features a Todd McFarlane cover, so there's also Todd collectors that will go after this book. And it's one that usually was beaten up because people read these. They didn't think of it as a collectible itself. They saw it as a guide to finding hot comics. So definitely one that's very condition sensitive. That there's very few that are in reasonable condition, and that's why it's #4 on my list, because it's a great book. I think there's a lot of spec opportunity here, and it's a cool book to have in anyone's collection, I think. So I always like when a spec can be something that is kind of a bit nostalgic for me as well. So it's something I'm happy to have in my collection. It's not that I'm just buying it to flip. So very cool book. So this is the notes on it say from 1991 from Wizard Publications, first Wizard Guide, Spider-Man poster by Todd McFarlane. That's another thing that you have to look for. A lot of these ones, the inserts were removed. So make sure you have a complete copy. Getting that blue label is very important. A lot of them, very hard to find those inserts. So definitely look for that. Good one there. #3 on my list is one that, now I talked about hot spec related to cartoons and movies and so forth. Another big cartoon, probably I think it is the longest running cartoon of all time, is The Simpsons. Now, the weird thing is, The Simpsons is awesome, awesome on its own, but there's another series that is sort of regarded by fans as being a really important anime series, and that was Akira. Probably Akira is the movie that really introduced anime to the Western audience. And for that, it's got that major historical impact in terms of anime. Well, how do you combine those two things? Well, there was a group of artists that did exactly that. And they made this book. It's called Bakira. And it's incredibly rare. Like probably like 500 copies or less exist of this book. Super rare book. It's pretty expensive already, but it's one where, again, it's desired by both Bart collectors and Akira collectors. And that's a good thing. When you have that kind of cross-market kind of potential with a comic, I think it has huge potential. And this book has a lot going for it beyond just those two elements. What happened was when they made this book, it was actually a collection of artists. And I think it was like 300 artists or something like that. It's like a big group of artists were involved with making one comic. And they were going to make a series of them, but it just didn't catch on for whatever reason. Or there was some legal issues. I'm not sure what stopped the second issue from coming out. But what they did was they, frame for frame, basically retold the story of Akira, but with the Simpsons characters. And they got different artists to do each page. So if you read this, it reads very interesting because the artwork can be all over the place. Some really amazing artwork to really kind of iffy artwork. So it's like all over the place in terms of quality of the art and art styles. Like some people might like certain styles better than others. But very cool, and it's interesting how they bring in the Simpsons characters into this universe. So definitely one that I was super excited to get this in my collection just because it's so rare and such a cool book. It's like if you're a Akira fan, you'll definitely like this one. Let me get the, Akira. So yeah, so definitely a cool book. Harder to find, a little bit more expensive. This is more on that $300 range, but definitely a cool book. And I think has that potential to go up even more just because of its rarity and because of its desirability. Next one on the list is an interesting one. A lot of people will be like, why is this on the list? It's nothing really major. But I'm going to put this one and the next one are both from the same series. This is Star Slayer #1. Now, this one is an interesting book because it is, it has the origin or first appearance of Star Slayer, full page ad for the Rocketeer, wraparound cover. So this is a title that's very interesting because it has like so many key things to it. It's an underground title from PC Comics, which is Pacific Comics, and it's basically like the first of the series of this Star Slayer series. But this series introduced many cool characters like the Rocketeer, and it's just one that collectors really like the Rocketeer. This has the first ad, so some people go by first ad as being where the first appearance is. Like they kind of like to go a little bit more purist. Oh, when is the first time we ever saw that character in a comic? Well, technically it would be this ad. So some people go after this book, and it's a very affordable book. You can get like a 9.8, like almost like $100. I think it's like $100, 100, maybe 150, sort of that range. Very affordable spec, and it's a it's a wraparound cover, so it's a pretty cover. And it also has the first appearance of the character that the book is about, which is Starslayer. So very affordable spec. I think, yeah, like 150. It's very affordable for what it is. The next one is the second issue of the series, which actually has the first full appearance of the Rocketeer. And, you know, the Rocketeer is, because of all the hype around Dave Stevens, there is a lot of potential for this character. They are talking about making another Rocketeer movie soon. So whether it's going to happen in my lifetime, I don't know. But they are talking about it, and they've been hinting that they're going to make it soon. If they do that, Rocketeer will be all of a sudden a hot character again. But even without that, people love Dave Stevens' art. And the Rocketeer is a character that was created by Dave Stevens. He loved the serials of the 50s, and he based the Rocketeer off of those characters. So this is the very first full appearance of the Rocketeer. So Starslayer #2, and on the back you get the first cover appearance of the Rocketeer as well, with some great Dave Stevens art. And you know, Dave Stevens is just a hot artist right now, so this is a good spec. And this book has come down. And so there was an announcement back during COVID that, you know, the Rocketeer was going to be, they were going to make a Rocketeer movie, a new Rocketeer movie. And because of the strikes and a whole bunch of things, that movie got kind of pushed off. So this is a good spec because it's come down and is now very affordable. Again, probably around that $100 to $150 range. You can pick up like a probably 9.6, maybe a little bit closer to the $200 range for 9.8. So really good potential because it's got Dave Stevens' key character that he created, the Rocketeer, and it has the first appearance of that character. So a very cool book. Definitely one that's on the radar, but not fully on the radar because people don't realize that it's come down so much and it's now a very affordable key. So that's #1 on my list. I hope I hope you like this list. This was my top 10 spec for 2024, and also my cover challenge. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Yeah, I'd love to see what other people do when they create their Friday comic challenge, and what spec do you have in your minds? And I'd love to hear it. Put it in the comments below. If you want to participate, all you have to do is find 10 comics that you think are good spec, make a little video about it, use the hashtag top 10 spec, hashtag Friday comic challenge, and you might want to just in the description of your video put at Comic Collector Geek, and then I get notification that you've made a video, and then I can check it out because I'd love to see what people come up with for their spec ideas. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Bye for now.